Hello everyone, welcome back to some more The Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Last time, we followed up on that whole investigation with Hosonaga to reveal that yes, there was an Englishwoman there. And yes, shenanigans did ensue because the Englishwoman in question, Giselle Brett, well, how do I put this? We don't suspect her of, well, we do kind of suspect her of murdering the guy because, well, for one thing, as you can see the photo, she hid a glass in her bag. Let me get the evidence here. Yeah, see, she hid the fact that she was even there with a glass bottle, which, I mean, she says it was because she was scared she might get caught, but at the same time, you know what I mean? Whatever. Anyways, TLDR, she was there, shenanigans ensued, and Hosonaga basically got her out of there and told her to hide the fact that she was there to prevent an international incident. However, with that being said, I mean, that's it. We're basically done. There's nothing else we can do to save ourselves. Except for noticing one small thing in the photograph, in this handbag photograph here. Namely, there's a very unusual mark on the victim's wrist. That is true. It looks almost like a burn of some description. A burn? I thought that was like an impression or something. I mean, I know it comes from there. Oh, it must have been like a hot plate or something, right? But for him to get burned like that, it must have been like on the thing for a while. In other words, what? He wasn't killed the way we think he is? Because the photo shows him turning his chair around, then getting shot. But maybe he was shot from the person across from him or something like that? Because he would have had to have died with his hand on the thing for that to even work.
Dear me, I was pondering what new piffle you would come up with. A burn, you say, on the victim's wrist. Clearly that has nothing to do whatsoever to do with the magnificent lady's handbag.
Yes, that is a burn mark, you're right. Go on, Inspector. The police coroner also noticed it when he was performing the post-mortem examination. It was deemed unrelated to the cause of death, so we didn't note it in his report.
What did I tell you? In any case, we have no idea when the victim suffered this burn, do we? And no possible way of knowing either. The more I look at it, the more I find myself intrigued by the curious shape.
Oh, wow, that's again. The more I look at it, the more I find myself intrigued by the curious shape of this mark. However, as Prosecutor Ouchi points out, unless a firm connection to the case can be shown, I cannot allow any further time to be spent on the precise details of this burn. Okay, well, I got something to show right here. Oh. What is she saying? Excuse me, Your Excellency. It would seem Miss Brett has a lunch appointment with the Dean and other university staff. She would like to know if she may be excused from the stand now. Yeah? Really? Your lunch appointment's more important than your court date? Bruh. You could easily just... whatever.
Oh, of course, dear lady. We shan't hold you up any longer. I'm quite sure His Excellency is about to give his final ruling anyways.
What's your thinking on this, Ryunosuke? Well, it's pretty obvious. We just present that photo we saw earlier. I literally just showed. Alright, what did he say? I'm not really sure, but if I don't keep pushing it, it's all over. Yeah, it's true. I am? If we can just link that burn to the case, if we can do that, we might be able to prise this shutting door back open again.
Just give up counsel. You can't possibly hope to do that.
Indeed. I'm afraid that without evidence I can't allow you to pursue what is little more than conjecture. But if we had evidence? Evidence that irrefutably linked the burn on the victim's wrist to the case, then you would allow it? I would, yes. To tell the truth, I hadn't noticed that burn. But as soon as you pointed it out, what I did notice was the color draining from Miss Brett's face. Really? I have to find some link between that burn and the case. This is the moment of truth. It's time to find some evidence that proves what that burn really means. So then, the defense will now present its evidence to the court. Evidence that demonstrates an inextricable connection between the victim's burn and this trial. Well, that's easy. Literally the crime scene photograph. It's literally right there. What's this, counsel? Yet another print? Yes, Your Excellency. I believe photographic prints are an amazing invention. When we humans look at a scene, we miss things. But in a photograph, things we may have overlooked at the time are recorded forevermore.
Do hurry up, rookie. What are you trying to say? To inconvenience this poor lady any further would really be inexcusable.
Actually, we may need you to stay with us a little longer if you don't mind, Miss Brett. You see, it's very clearly visible in this other photograph. How did the victim come to have that unusually shaped burn on his wrist? The reason is recorded here forevermore. Oh my god, Ryunosuke, just say it. Like...
You can't fool me with your little bluffs, boy. If that's your game, let's see how it plays out. Show the court exactly what you mean.
What is in this photograph? What do you think is in this photograph? Literally look. Just look. Actually, I wonder how they do this. Do they have like a hitbox area that you click present on, and because you can easily just make a mistake like this and not get it perfectly.
The beefsteak.
Actually, the point is the metal plate the steak was served on. The plate?
Your Excellency, are you all right?
As you can see, there is an emblem on the plate. I would guess it's some sort of trademark of La Carnival. The emblem on this plate and the victim's burn are exactly the same shape. Ryunosuke, you genius! Really? You're spot on. Which means the victim must have suffered this burn while he was present at the restaurant. But which means he was probably shot from the person right across from him, because then his dead body would fall, hit the thing, burn his hand, and then it would stay there because he's dead. So it's like, you know?
But even if that is the case, we can't know if it happened on the day in question or not. It could have been the day before, or the day before that. It most likely happened at some other unrelated time.
Well, Objection! Sadly, Prosecutor Ouchie, the chances of that are extremely slim. Thanks.
Why?
The outline of the burn is clearly discernible. Such a serious injury would have caused quite a commotion in the restaurant. Wouldn't you agree, Inspector Hosonaga? I can't imagine having missed such a terrible disaster, certainly.
But...
I would say, looking at the picture of the wound, that it wasn't suffered very long ago. And, although it's not a particularly large burn, it is extremely well defined, as the defense just pointed out. This was no mild burn, that's for sure. Can you be more specific, Inspector? Well, let's see. If the plate was at around 90 degrees centigrade, a burn like that would have taken about 3 seconds. 90 degrees... Oh, sorry, something just dropped. 90 degrees centigrade. How much is that in Fahrenheit / Celsius? Centigrade to Fahrenheit. What the heck? I said centigrade, not Celsius. What? Wait. Oh, centigrade is another term for Celsius. Okay. Then that's like what? 90 times like 1 or something. That's like 180 something. Yeah? That's like 170 something degrees. Yeah, 194 degrees. Yeah, plus 32. That's why. 194. He got burned on a 200 degree plate. Yeah, if he wasn't dead before that, it would have caused a huge commotion. It's inconceivable that the victim wouldn't have let out a scream of pain then. I've been investigating the restaurant for several weeks already, but I've not heard anyone scream at all. As the head waiter of Le Carnaval, I can testify to that without hesitation.
But you're a detective, not a waiter.
Yes!
There you have it. Something isn't right here. As the detective said, anyone who burnt themselves on a piping hot plate for 3 whole seconds would scream in pain. There's no question of that. Unless he couldn't scream because he was already dead by that point. And yet Inspector Hosonaga never heard the professor scream. Not on that day or any before it. That's right. And the strange thing is, on the day he was shot, I didn't hear him cry out either. What are you suggesting? Well, if the professor had carelessly laid his wrist on the plate for anything like 3 seconds that day, that would be beyond careless, I think, counsel. Yeah, I mean, you know, people have burnt their hands on hot stoves without realizing it, so, I mean... Then the rest of us on the restaurant, myself, the sergeant, and the old antiques dealer, all of us would without any question have heard him scream. Wouldn't you agree, Prosecutor Ouchie?
Well, yes, I suppose.
So the question is, why didn't a single person hear Dr. Wilson scream? I almost don't believe it. Ryunosuke, do you think... Can it really be true? I never dreamt we'd arrive at a conclusion like this, but I'm starting to think that maybe we've been led into a terrible trap. A terrible trap? Huh. A terrible trap. Then... Well, yeah, that makes sense, obviously, because he would have died from... the other person across from him would have shot him, so he would have more than likely died. There's only one explanation I can think of to make sense of this apparent impossibility. On the day in question, when he suffered the burn to his wrist, Dr. Wilson was already dead by then. No duh. Ain't no other way. No man could remain silent while his wrist was burning on a piping hot plate for 3 whole seconds. That's clearly impossible, apart from in one particular situation. Counsel, are you suggesting... Yes, it's only possible if the man was already dead.
Already
Dead? Knowing what we know now, it's the only possible explanation. When the beefsteak was brought to Dr. Wilson's table that day, the professor was already dead.
That's madness!
Well, I mean, there's literally no other explanation to why his hand was still burned like that. Then, wait, did she just... I find it hard to believe that Brett just literally just took a gun out of the thing, shot him, and then, well, no, it does take like what, half a second to just a second. It did take a second to pull out the gun and then just shoot. It literally takes like a second and a half for that. So, actually, no. Even if he was shot, he wouldn't die immediately. He would have been like moving around or, you know, whatnot. It's not burning his hand, and he would have screamed. So, huh. The victim was killed by a gunshot.
That's right. That's absolutely right, Your Excellency. This is just another ridiculous ploy by the rookie student. Clearly he has no grasp of the facts.
Objection!
No, Prosecutor Ouchie, it is you who has no grasp of the facts.
I beg your pardon?
As soon as it became apparent that the victim had suffered that burn while at the restaurant, this whole case was turned upside down. Or have you not grasped that yet? Your Excellency, the court must hear from this witness again. If it's true, as we now believe, that the victim was already dead before the gunshot was heard, then it's highly likely that Miss Brett knows something about it. Incredible. I certainly didn't anticipate this twist of events. I'm sorry to say, Miss Brett, that you will have to forget your luncheon engagement.
But, Your Excellency!
The justice system in our country may be in its infancy, but rest assured, all reasonable doubt must be dispelled before I am to be prepared to pass judgment. Yes. Thank you, Your Excellency. Yeah? You're gonna smirk at me after all that? You still have a plan? What was that smile? Yes, of course. I mean, I'd be delighted to help. Especially if it helps relations between my country and yours. So she does speak Japanese. Then why does she need a translator?
Miss Brett, you speak Japanese.
Well, of course I do. I am studying in your country after all. But then, why have you been speaking through an interpreter till now? My mother tongue, the Queen's English, is the most refined and elegant language in the world. As a gentlewoman, I try to avoid speaking in your vulgar tones as much as possible. Yeah, you're gonna come to our country and insult us by not even speaking our language, and then, well, I can understand that actually, but, and then you're gonna turn around and call our language vulgar, yeah? But it seems the men in this land possess none of the chivalrous virtues of English gentlemen, so I can see that I shall have to lower myself to communicating with you all on your own level.
Oh, well, you are the epitome of a true English gentlewoman. We are truly honored by this lavish consideration you so graciously afford us.
I see. In that case, Miss Brett, I will now ask you to testify in your own words about the events leading up to the death of the victim, Dr. Wilson. So, we're finally going to hear her own words on the matter. Things are getting interesting, Ryunosuke. Alright, finally, from Miss Brett herself. Actually, should I go for that voice? I kind of wanted it to be something more elegant and refined, with a bit of an English accent to it. Make it sound like a true English woman. It's the best I can do, considering I can't even take... it's the best I can do, considering Ouchie's voice is literally the highest my voice will go. Unfortunately, I have no idea when the poor man burnt his wrist like that. When the waiter brought my steak, the professor and I raised our glasses in a toast. As far as I've heard, the post-mortem report showed no other possible cause of death besides the gunshot. We didn't get a post-mortem report. We got a post-mortem report. We didn't get an autopsy, that's right. No other cause of death besides the gunshot. Not really. I mean, it said he had a fatal hemorrhage from pectoral ballistic trauma. Oh. Wow, that is actually true. If there's some other way a man's life can be taken without leaving a trace, please do show me. Poison. Oh, she poisoned him. That makes sense. Because because Japan doesn't have the resources to be able to perform an actual autopsy, they just did a post-mortem report. The police people just looked at the body and figured, all right, looks like a hemorrhage, so we're all good here. Like, of course, so he got poisoned. Unless, yes, the only way without leaving a trace, because then, well, how do you kill someone without leaving a trace? Drowning. Well, how exactly did she drown him again? Well, yeah, no. I mean, the only other option is that he somehow had a stroke, which is weird. But yeah, she must have poisoned him. She must have slipped something in that water he made. But of course, this country's inferior investigative techniques probably wouldn't pick up on it anyway. That most captivating and beautiful testimony will go down in Supreme Court's history. Thank you. Easy does it. I hope that is the last time I will have to sully my lips with that coarse tone of your becoming tongue. Oh, forgive me. I do hope I haven't insulted anyone.
Not at all, not at all. It is a delight merely to hear you speak, dear lady. And it seems very clear from your testimony that this boorish talk of the victim's burn is utterly irrelevant.
I will be speaking to your country's Minister of Justice about what has happened here today.
The Minister of Justice?
May that irritating little bully of a student be given the harshest punishment possible. Amen. Yeah? You said, I'm gonna pray for you. Like, what? Was that a prayer then? Yeah? You basically just said, oh yeah, I'm a tattletale on you, and I pray that you'll be okay. Like, well, you'll have to forgive the irritation, Miss Brett, and put up with a cross-examination now. I expect you noticed that this little bully of a student, as you put it, doesn't miss much. I'm sure I don't need to remind you, counsel, that this will be your final cross-examination in this trial. If you fail to demonstrate any problems with this witness's testimony, I will be ruling on the case immediately. Is that clear? Yes, Your Excellency. Then you may proceed with the cross-examination. All right. The victim's death. I have no way the burn man burnt his wrist like that. Well, more than likely after he died of it, okay. Raised our glasses and it's... Actually, let me press this, because how do you not have any idea? But his hand was on the searing plate for at least 3 whole seconds. You can't not have noticed. Do you think so? Then let me ask you something. Sorry? Ever since I arrived at this courtroom, and even still now, the fly in those unsightly black trousers of yours had been wide open. You can't not have noticed, can you? Huh? What? Yeah, Ryunosuke, you forgot to... Haha, what's fun? You hadn't realized.
The dear lady's absolutely right.
As your friend, you've embarrassed me as well as yourself, Ryunosuke. Yeah, Ryunosuke? You literally left your fly open? How do you even do that exactly? Why didn't you tell me? Because... Dr. Wilson was a true English gentleman. He chose honorable silence over a vulgar scream. Can't your tiny brains imagine such a thing?
Oh yes, I think my tiny brain can.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I can't. Yeah, he burned his hand on a 200-degree pan. You're telling me you don't scream like that? Anyway. When the waiter brought my steak, the professor and I raised our glasses in a toast.
Yes.
A toast to what exactly? As you testified before, you were drinking carbonated... Okay, sparkling water, because carbonated and sparkling is literally the same thing, I'm pretty sure. Well, no. Sparkling water has flavor to it. Carbonated water is probably water with like CO2 and citric acid, right? Let's look this up again, because we're already in the habit of looking stuff up in this place. Oh my god, it's sparkling water. Yeah, it's literally just carbon dioxide. It literally just mixed with carbon dioxide under pressure. Actually, can I make that? No, I can't, because I need CO2 for that. Though I'll have to try that, won't I? See if I can get a few cans of it.
Dr. Wilson was only permitted to drink water at the time, if you remember, which explains why he ordered that drink. Correct, waiter?
Exactly as you say, sir. Although... Whether or not the professor actually drank any of the water when I delivered the steak to the table, I'm afraid I don't remember that. Damn you.
I have enough English to understand that, at least. For the benefit of others in the court, it means bless you.
Yeah? I think it means the exact opposite. Anyway, as far as I've heard, the postmortem report showed no other possible cause of death.
Yes.
That's not a lie either. Yes, it is written here in the paperwork. Fatal hemorrhage from ballistic trauma. Yes.
Luckily for all of us, a little burn on the wrist isn't going to kill us. As there were no other signs of trauma on the victim's body to indicate some other cause of death. It can only have been the bullet from your gun that put an end to this innocent man's life.
But it doesn't make sense. The burn must have happened straight away, when the plate was first brought to the table by the waiter. Yeah, because the plate had literally no time to cool down. Actually, hold up. If she's eating the steak, how does it end up on his side of the thing? Oh my god, I missed that, yeah. If she's eating the steak, how exactly did it end up on his side of the table? Yes, that's true. If it had cooled even slightly, you wouldn't have been able to make a burn like that. And if the victim burnt his wrist on the hot plate as soon as it was brought out from the kitchen, then he must have already been dead by that point.
Objection.
And yet, the fact that the victim was killed by a gunshot to the chest. The fact is that the victim was killed by a gunshot to the chest. Until you're able to show the court evidence to disprove that, this is a complete waste of time.
I concur. Prosecutor Ouchie is right. Ugh. If there's some other way a man's life can be taken without leaving a trace, please, do show me.
Yes.
We have no other evidence. Without leaving a trace. If someone is shot, or strangled, or stabbed, or thrown from a height, However a person's life is taken, there are always telltale traces on the body.
Quite right, dear lady. And as our police forces thoroughly examine the body of the deceased, there can be no doubt. Isn't that right, Inspector Hosanaga?
As I've said, I always aim for a flawless investigation. There would be physical traces with all those causes of death, that's true. But maybe there's some other way of killing someone that doesn't leave a mark. If, heaven forbid, you doubt me, young man, you're going to have to tell everyone how exactly you think the professor did lose his life. Otherwise, I'm afraid your argument falls rather flat, doesn't it? Yeah, that smug attitude.
Oh no, perish the thought, calling us such a sweet young lady's innocence into question. On my honor, I, Tagetsuki Yoshi, will cut down any who dare cast such aspersions.
A way of killing someone that leaves no trace. But we need evidence. So we know it's poison, but we don't have the evidence to prove it. Do we? No, we don't. She could have easily just poisoned him, then shot him for good measure to make it seem like it was a thing. I think let's just press on the last statement because, yeah, we'll just have, oh, she can speak Japanese brilliantly, but it seemed like she doesn't want to say very much. The more she says, the more likely she's to give away. This Englishwoman knows that only too well. She's quite formidable.
Yeah, maybe you shouldn't have told her that we can notice things easily, Akazuma.
Dr. Wilson's burn tells us something, I'm sure. I need to use this cross-examiner to find out what. Everything she said, yeah. Well, it's annoying to do that in these games, but yeah, sometimes you'll have to literally press every single thing she said in order to find something or pass time. Oh, what are you thinking? Oh, don't worry, it's nothing.
Yes!
Inferior. What do you mean by that? In the lands of the Great British Empire, the police store everything found at a crime scene for later examination. But in this country, you investigate once, and that's the end of it. Isn't that so?
Quite right. La Carnival is open for business as usual for today. Just days after the incident.
Exactly. Which means that even if the investigation takes a different direction, vital evidence may be lost. Hold it right there, my boy. What did you just say? It doesn't even occur to your naive detectives to try and preserve their crime scene. I'm trying to be as tactful about this as I can. You understand?
A killer blow. The lady is formidable as she is beautiful.
Amazing. He's actually admitting our police may be flawed. Perhaps Prosecutor Ouchie is finally starting to see some sense. I very much doubt that. Still, there's something about what Miss Brett just said. There was a moment before, when something didn't seem quite right. Yeah? Okay, fine. I think we'll have to press her again. A tough witness. We need to break her testimony or the cross-examination will be over. But that would mean I have to find a way. There must be some clue somewhere that may help us find a chink in her armor. Kazuma. What, Ryunosuke? There is one thing I noticed, something that's been bothering me. Bothering you? You mean about Miss Brett? Actually, no. About the person standing next to her, Inspector Osanaga. The detective? Yes, he seemed to react a little strangely to Miss Brett's last statement. I was wondering if it might be significant. If that might perhaps present an opening, maybe. Alright, I have an idea. Try pressing her on that last statement one more time. If you think so, but this time, instead of targeting the woman herself, Let's see what we can get out of the detective. Alright then. I wonder what Kazuma's thinking. I'll find out soon enough, I suppose. Once I press Miss Brett on her last statement again. Yes, this is a new mechanic to the Ace. Well, I mean, this isn't exactly a new mechanic to the Ace Attorney series. I mean, there's Professor Layton versus Phoenix Wright, I think, which I will play eventually, if I can. Hold up. Okay, good. I thought something went wrong for a second. Yeah, so this is a new mechanic that, well, not new, it's really old because this came from the Professor Layton versus Phoenix Wright game. But yeah, it is not all the time that the witnesses we testify themselves have clues.
Yes!
You see, it is highly likely, well, it is possible, I should say, that
Wait.
a person's testimony might... Yes, there it is again. Yeah, see, it is highly likely that a person's testimony might affect someone else. Like, for example, if the words they say isn't exactly true, or you know, something's off. You know what I mean? If something's off to someone else, they might have a reaction to that. And so, here we go. The detective's reaction is just the same as before. Why? Up until now, the detective has been in the stand with Miss Brett as her interpreter. But things are very different now. For this testimony, the detective is just listening to what the Englishwoman has to say. This could be a golden opportunity. What do you mean? When people are actually testifying, they're usually very careful not to let anything slip. However, when they're listening to someone else speak, you'll find they'll often let their guard down. You're right. Look at him. He's lost in his own thoughts. It's time to pursue this man and his train of thought. Sorry? Pursue? I'll explain how to do it now, Ryunosuke. It's all to do with the witness's marker. Yeah, essentially, when not necessarily them, don't look for a reaction, look for a marker, if that makes sense. You'll see why in the future, but yes. When you see a marker like that during witness testimony, you can easily just scroll on over to the next person's face, I guess you could say. Turn your attention. There it is. And you'll get new information if need be. Direction, vital evidence may be lost. So, let's... Oh, we gotta use the... Oh, no, we can use the circle pad. That's good.
Excuse me.
Yeah, what's the meaning of this? Yeah? Did we scare him, bro? You were that deep in your own mind? I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to shock you. He really was lost in his thoughts. Deeply. It looked like you were thinking something just now, Inspector. Perhaps having heard what the lady next to you had to say. If there's something you'd like to say, please share with the court.
Objection!
What is the meaning of this? It's the delightful Englishwoman who's testifying at the moment. If you can't find fault with her testimony, then the cross-examination should be over immediately.
Okay, well, I mean, the other guy's on the stand, though. He is, well, Oh, is that how it works? Absolutely not. The detective is in the stand, which makes him a valid witness. Yes, not to mention the fact that he's intimately involved to the case. Inspector Hosonaga. Yes? Do you have something to add in relation to the statement just made by Miss Brett? Well, yes, if you don't mind, I would like to speak. The lady is right. Our country's police practices are not as modern as those used in Great Britain. Which is why I, Satoru Hosonaga, always strive to make every investigation I am involved in flawless. What do you really mean by that? I'll tell you what I mean. I won't have evidence lacking on my watch. I'm not afraid to take everything I can from the scene of the crime. It's preserving evidence, you see. I don't care if they call me a crime scene thief. I'm not ashamed of what I've done. Yeah, you took evidence from the crime scene? A crime scene thief? You literally stole everything from the crime scene? Well, it looks like the lady's remarks touched a nerve there. Take this, for example. Is that... This is the bottle of carbonated water that I took to the victim's table on the day in question. And yes, it's lost all of its fizz, having been opened 3 days ago now. But it was carbonated water. I don't care what anyone says. Yes, there's some left in the bottle. I can see it. One day our police force will be among the best in the world. The time is coming. I guarantee it. I can't say I condone the witness's actions, but I do understand the sentiment. The court will accept this glass bottle as evidence. All right, finally. Hey, let's look at that bottle. Let's look at that bottle. There may be poison in it. Yeah, there's like half the bottle left. There may be poison. So, this carbonated water is the last drink Dr. Wilson ever had. It looks like there's a little left in the bottle. A little? Dude, there's like a lot. That's like half the bottle, bro. That's good for like a nice, like solid 5 seconds. You know, I've been sweating so much, I'm absolutely parched. I'll just have a sip of this to keep me going. No, Ryunosuke, you can't do that. For one thing, that's evidence. You can't go drinking evidence. Oh, no, you're right. We don't know what might be inside, do we? You never cease to amaze me, Ryunosuke, in more ways than one. I wonder, could there be anything in this water? What's the matter? You've gone quiet all of a sudden. I gotta remember to consciously do the voice every time. I think I might have just worked something out. An interesting possibility. Huh. Oh, okay, that's because we're just gonna repeat the dollar, okay. Okay, how long are we in? 42 minutes in, okay. So yeah, there could be something in this water, so I guess we have to present this at the statement. What does this say? Labels written in a foreign language that I don't recognize. Is that French? Probably French. Do you know what it says, Kazuma? I think it's French. This must be very expensive water. Yes, but what does it say? That's what I was asking. Then go to France and ask. You could just say that you don't know. Can you confirm that this is indeed the bottle from which you drank on the day of the victim's death? Yes, it was that bottle. What was that about? She seemed to avert her eyes when she answered the judge's question. Very well. Counsel, you may resume the cross-examination. And the inspector will kindly control his fervor. Alright, we got the evidence we need. Please do show me, okay. Save for good measure before, for luck, for love, for just about everything. Oh, I didn't know it shows the time that I saved. That's interesting. Please do show me. Well, I got you right over here. What is this? The bottle of water. Actually, there is one method of killing a man without leaving a trace that comes to mind. Obviously, I'm referring to poison.
poison?
On the day of his death, we know that Dr. Wilson drank from this bottle of carbonated water. Could it be that there was poison inside? Could it be that the professor actually died after taking a sip from his glass? From this glass? Order, order, order. And on that day, who was sitting at the same table as the professor and able to slip poison into his drink? There's only one person who could have done it. Giselle Brett. It was you! Huh. Yeah, now that I think about it, once Ryunosuke came up to talk to him, she could have easily just sprinkled some poison in his drink.
Objection!
This is outrageous! To suggest such a thing without a scrap of evidence! You little rookie imbecile! Have you even considered the delicate situation our country finds itself in now? Have you forgotten that we have only just signed an important accord of friendship with the British Empire? I am messing things up, seriously. Do I have dyslexia or something? Because I can read this just fine, but it's like when I say it, I see something completely different. Whatever. Have you even the vaguest inkling that your rash accusations could jeopardize the entire treaty?
Objection!
This is not a political arena. This is a trial to determine one individual's guilt with respect to one crime.
What?
The fact that this woman is British makes no difference. We are here to determine the truth. If I may.
I will silence you forever for this.
Oh, It is you who should be silent.
Of course. Dear lady.
Where did that come from? She just snapped. I'm afraid I may have spoken unfairly before. I offer my most humble apologies. I'm sorry, milady. To what are you referring? I described your police force as inferior. But no matter how inferior they may be, you still investigated this particular point thoroughly, I believe. The bottle, I mean, Inspector, and whether it contained poison or not. Of course. You did? How? Have you forgotten what my guiding principle is already? I strive for a flawless investigation every time. I don't believe it. Naturally, we tested the inside of the bottle and its contents. And? What did you find, Inspector? Inspector, I ordered tests for every toxin that's available in this country at the present time. We could find no trace of the poison of any description in the bottle of carbonated water, Your Excellency. What? Are you sure? The tests were meticulously carried out by the chief coroner himself. No. So literally the drink wasn't even poison? Then how did he die? Seriously. And if then, how did he burn his hand on the thing? He had to have been like sitting forward. Or something, I don't know. I'm very grateful to you, all you Japanese. You've successfully established my complete innocence in this horrid affair. Thank you.
But of course, my dear lady, the pleasure was all ours.
I was so sure. This can't be right. Everything falls into place if he was poisoned. Thank you, Counsel. I think that this cross-examination has clarified everything. As the prosecution has asserted, a shot to the chest from this gun is the only conceivable cause of death. Furthermore, the accused, who by his own admission was holding the weapon, is the only possible culprit. I'm done for. Literally? The court wishes to apologize for the great inconvenience this has caused you, Miss Brett. Oh no, I'm just glad the matter is resolved. Before proceeding, I must ask the counsel for the defense. Do you have any further new evidence to present at the court at this point? No, actually we don't. Kazuma? I'm sorry, Ryunosuke. I have nothing more. Well, if you'll excuse me now, I really must be leaving. Literally? Who said that? Please, wait! Isn't that... What is the meaning of this? Forgive me for intruding on court proceedings, Your Excellency. Susato Mikotoba, Judicial Assistant to the Defense. Mikotoba? In my darkest hour, with nowhere left to go, she appeared like a bolt of lightning. And in her hand, she carried a small package wrapped in a furoshiki cloth. Literally our savior, our guardian angel. Oh yeah, the professor did say to, what's it called, send her to get something. That makes sense. 51 now. I guess we can go for another like 10 minutes, see how far we get. Or should I just quit now, leave you all on a cliffhanger? That would be funny, wouldn't it? Well, let's see. How much do we have left in this trial, if I remember right? I mean, we don't have too much. Okay, yeah. So... Okay, actually, yeah. That is what I will do. I'm gonna leave things here. Yeah, sorry about the cliffhanger. This seems like a nice point to break things off. Plus, there's not much left in the trial anyway. So I figure if I just stop here and start the next one, start the next episode, I can easily just kind of go until the very end of the trial. So yeah, with that being said, I'm gonna see all you guys in the next video.